So in this video, we're now talking about some stuff that I find very, very exciting. This is now where you put on your management hat, your strategic hat, and start thinking about the long-term strategy for the IT landscape. All right, so all of the IT systems, the processes, the software, the hardware, all of this sort of stuff, at some point needs to be replaced, needs to be upgraded. There are software packages perhaps that you are running that in the future may actually not give you the right end result. They may not be able to do what the customer or what your end user wants it to be able to do. So you may need to look into better alternates, better solutions out there. So here's a great thing, is you as the IT manager, as somebody who is responsible for all the IT landscape, of course you're responsible for BAU, business as usual. Keep the lights on, keep all the systems running, updated, secure, patched, all that sort of stuff. That's great. But because you're keeping up to date, we talked about this in an earlier video, is you keeping up to date, knowing what is trending, knowing what is good out there in the IT landscape, knowing what systems could be implemented to sort of improve the organization. Now you start designing your IT roadmap, your IT strategy. What do you want the next 12, 24, 5 years to look like? The next 12, 24 months is generally where you'd start, but then even think longer term, 5 years, 10 years down the track. What could you be putting in place right now, or at least start having a think about putting in place, where you can then propel the IT system, the IT process, the IT foundation to help the business to get to where it is now, to where it needs to be down the track. Now, this is an area, again, that will be very, very rewarding for the IT manager. Because if you put a good system in place and you implement something that brings more cash into the business, your staff can now do their work quicker. The organization grows because you can now get more staff to do better, bigger things. That's a good thing for you. Well done, IT manager. If it wasn't for you, if you did not recommend this great new system, if you didn't work with us to project manage it and get it across the line, we would not be doing what we're doing right now. So it's almost like that opportunity for you to shine. So do your homework, get up to date with what's in technology, have a look at everything that you've got running right now, and have a think about what you could be doing in the future. Think about what is hot right now in cyberspace, right? There's a lot of stuff that's going on and things are changing all the time. So something that I recommend is building a roadmap. Now, I have got a demo roadmap that I have attached to this video, and we're going to talk a little bit around what is within a roadmap. Okay, so let's go and show you an example roadmap that I have made right now, where I essentially show you a little bit around some of the items that you can be listing inside the roadmap to then create a nice presentation that you could then show to a director, to a board, to a CEO, so that you can then try to get something across the line. Here's an example of what a roadmap could look like. So you'll see that right here, we've got a number of different sorts of categories. We've got a hash here, which is essentially the number, essentially the category. You'll see that there is a category column right here. And I've broken this down into operations, into infrastructure, security and compliance, governance, process, and management. And of course, you can have other subcategories in here, or even break down security into one, compliance into another. But I found that these are the categories that sort of will fit most of the items that we want to include within our roadmap. Now, this particular document is a roadmap, not necessarily a strategy, but a roadmap for 1 to 2 years perhaps. And you've also got here the item listed. So here's an example of one of the items that we've got. We're going to call it an upgrade to our file server. An overview of that is, well, this is what it's going to be about. So what are we actually doing? So an upgrade to a file server could be, we've got a legacy Windows Server 2008 R2 file server,
and we want to look at upgrading that. Perhaps we want to move over to a NAS. Perhaps we just want to upgrade to a new file server that is running Windows Server 2019 or something different. So it just gives you a bit of an overview and a current state around what that item specifically is. Then, of course, you want to have a rationale and a risk. So you're going to be presenting this potentially to people who are the decision makers, people who are going to give you the funds and the approval to actually go and implement the upgrade to file server item. So you want to put into here your explanation, your negotiation, your rationale as to why you need to get this and what risks there are. So I've said here, what is the current risk or the risk if we don't do it? So is there right now a risk if we don't upgrade the file server? Or is there a risk in the future if we don't upgrade the file server? So it's always a good point right here. And you can make this quite detailed, essentially explaining the reasons why you need to do it and the risk associated with it if you don't do it. Then a recommendation is what you actually want to do. So here's an overview of what the situation is. And then what do you now want to go do? So if you said, for example, we want to go and implement a brand new NAS, you may say on here, I want to go and buy myself a Dell EMC NAS with this much hard drive space, and this is what I want to go and implement. Okay, it doesn't have to be very, very detailed. Then the importance, so where do you rank this particular item? So generally you could do a low, medium, high, even a critical of importance. What is the effort involved? So how long? What is the effort? How many staff do you need? How much effort do you actually need to implement this? Is it very high? Is it low, medium, low, or high? An estimate on the cost. When are you planning on doing it? So these are complete estimates in my opinion. Now, again, this is a roadmap. This is just something that you'll present to somebody. Then if they go and say, yes, we want to go and implement the upgrade to the file server, then your next step may be to go and actually do an actual project plan. So if it's something larger, like you want to implement a brand new system that's going to change elements of how the business operates, then this is just the high level overview of what needs to be done. But then you want to go and do a project plan that will give you a bit more of an estimate around the cost, because you're now going to go out, because you've got approval, you're going to go out, you're going to get the quotes, you're going to get different opinions. You may, deal with particular consultants or vendors to give you the cost. And then you may be working with other people, and around your overall schedule for everything else, you may want to implement this in Q2, in this case 2020. Then you've got the current state. So is it currently in progress? Is it not commenced? Is it delayed? This is the state of that particular item. Of course, if it's a brand new item, it's never even been identified with the people who need to see this. It may be not commenced. And then you may want to provide them updates from time to time where the status will change from not commenced to in progress. The approval state, has it been approved? Has it not been approved? If it's been approved, good on you. You can then progress into the next steps. And then some additional comments, perhaps a current status and the plans, okay? And I've added there, as I said, a few. Upgrade file server. We've got an implement failover DB clustering, database clustering, implement a NAC, and then develop an IT AUP, and then some relevant information around that. Now, this is, again, as I said, a complete example of what I like to use, or a scenario that I like to use around a roadmap. You can, of course, go and cater this and customize this the way that you want to. You can change the names of these, the columns themselves. You can add, you can remove some of these. And then what I would even say is then you can actually then provide snapshots of how this is going. Perhaps every couple of months or every month, you maybe want to give an update on what's going on. So you can actually go and do a snapshot of this and perhaps even break it down into just items that are part of a quarter, as opposed to a full overview of everything. So you may just want to do a quarter 2 2020. This is everything that I want to do in quarter 2 2020, because you may not want to just overwhelm people with a list of 100 items on here. Most people that are in certain senior positions won't have the time to be able to go and look through this. So sometimes giving them a snapshot on what's going on is also good. And that's where a sort of a strategy report may also come in helpful, where you can actually go and pick and choose some of the ones that are relevant, the ones that you want them to go and see, and then you just throw them into like a strategy update report, for example, that you then go and present to them. Okay, so that is what our roadmap looks like.
So the roadmap is something that is pretty essential in my opinion. I find it always very, very helpful that when I come into a new business, let's say if I start working for a new customer, I want to get a good understanding. I want to essentially do a full audit of the setup that I've got right now, find all the areas that could be improved, and then draw up a roadmap and say, look, you're running these systems right now. You're running these bespoke apps. You're running these apps that were custom built for you. Support is not very good. They're not patched. They're not updated. They're slow. They're old fashioned. Hey, why don't we look at setting you up with a new ERP system? Why don't we set you up with a new CRM system? You're running a really dodgy website. Why don't we look at refreshing your entire website to something that is smashing, something that looks so much better, something that is appealing to the eye, where your customers will see it and they'll want to go and buy a product from you. Number of different things. The systems are really slow. They're running old hardware. The servers are old. Hey, why don't we look at refreshing everything? You're running just physical servers. Why don't we look at moving into the virtualization space, getting servers that will run better, which means your file server runs better, which means that your email runs better. Perhaps you're running a whole bunch of systems inside the building, on-premise. You're running old on-premise equipment. What about the cloud? Hey, the cloud is available. The cloud could almost guarantee better high availability. The services will not go down as often, and it's accessible from everywhere. You don't have to VPN to an on-premise server and do access to a file server this way. Why don't we just stick it up on the cloud, stick it up on SharePoint, use Microsoft 365? All of these things could be added to a roadmap. And then you've got a strategy where perhaps, like what I have found is some places, they don't want a full detailed roadmap with like 100 items on there. Rather, they want a condensed version of a strategy around where you want to take the IT team. And you could summarize some of the key items in a roadmap into a strategy that is presented to a board of directors, to a senior leadership team, whatever it may be, to the CEO, where you say, here is my IT strategy. Over the next 12 months, this is all the stuff that I want to do. This is over the next 24 months, this is what I want to do. In the next 5 years, I want us to be here. And you sort of map all this stuff out, show it to them, and then hopefully you get it all approved. Roadmaps and strategies, excellent. And what's great is because you are the IT manager, you've got a say into all of this. And I'd almost encourage, if you're not doing this, if you're watching this and you are already in management and you're not doing roadmaps and strategies and sort of presenting this to the powers that be to get stuff done, to get things upgraded, giving justification for why, risks for why you should fix that now because you've got a risk if you don't, do it. If you're not doing it, do it now. But there you go, strategies and roadmaps.